You step outside on a 100-degree day, and you reach for the air conditioning within seconds. Your skin prickles, your shirt sticks to your back. You retreat indoors, and you never think about it again. But 5,000 years ago, your ancestors in the Nile Valley faced that same sun with none of your escape routes, and they didn't just survive it. They built one of the greatest civilizations in human history underneath it. How is that possible? To understand it, you have to start with your own body, because the answer isn't really about Egypt at all. It's about you. Your body is a walking cooling system. You carry between 2 and 4 million sweat glands across your skin, more than almost any other mammal on the planet. The biological anthropologist Nina Jablonski has spent decades studying how humans evolved this trait, and her research points to something remarkable. Humans didn't just adapt to heat. Humans became heat specialists. Most mammals pant to cool down. You sweat instead, and sweating is a far more efficient system. It lets you release heat continuously, without stopping to breathe hard, without slowing down. Early humans on the African savanna used this ability to do something no other predator could do. They ran their prey to exhaustion in the heat of the day, while lions and leopards retreated into the shade. That trait didn't disappear when your ancestors settled along the Nile. It became the foundation for everything that came next. Now picture the Nile Valley 4,500 years ago. Daytime temperatures regularly climbed past 110 degrees. There was no shade for miles in some regions, no clouds, no relief. And yet this is exactly where one of the most advanced early civilizations chose to build its capital cities. Why would anyone choose to build there? Because the same heat that threatened to kill them also gave them something no cooler climate could offer. Predictable flooding, rich soil, a river that behaved like clockwork. The Egyptians didn't fight the desert. They learned to move with it, and the way they did that reveals just how sophisticated their understanding of the human body really was. Start with clothing, because clothing is where the real engineering begins. Ancient Egyptians wore linen, almost exclusively, and linen wasn't a fashion choice. It was survival technology. Linen is woven from flax fibers that are naturally hollow, which allows air to move freely against the skin. It reflects sunlight instead of absorbing it, especially in its natural undyed white and cream tones. Archaeologists studying textile remains from tombs at sites like Deir el-Medina have found linen woven so finely that some pieces are nearly transparent, thin enough to let air pass through with almost no resistance. Egyptologist Salima Ikram, who has spent much of her career studying ancient Egyptian daily life and mummification practices, has noted how deliberately practical Egyptian clothing choices were. Loose robes, wide sleeves, garments that hung away from the body rather than clinging to it. Every design choice created space for air to circulate and sweat to evaporate. That evaporation is the whole secret. Sweat doesn't cool you by simply being wet. It cools you by evaporating off your skin, carrying heat away with it. Loose linen speeds that process up. Tight, heavy fabric slows it down. The Egyptians may not have understood the biochemistry, but they understood the outcome, and they built an entire wardrobe around it. Then there's the hair, or rather, the absence of it. Many Egyptians, particularly among the upper classes, shaved their heads. It wasn't only about status or cleanliness. A shaved head releases heat far more efficiently than one covered in thick hair, and it prevented sweat from pooling against the scalp. In its place, they often wore wigs made from human hair or plant fiber. That might sound counterintuitive. Why replace lost hair with more hair? Because a wig creates a small air gap between the scalp and the covering, and that gap acts almost like insulation in reverse. It shades the head from direct sun while still allowing airflow underneath. It's a strange kind of engineering, hiding one form of hair beneath another, but the logic holds up under modern understanding of heat regulation. Their architecture followed the exact same instincts as their clothing, just built at a larger scale. Egyptian homes were constructed from mudbrick, a material with a property that turns out to be extraordinarily well suited to punishing daytime heat. Mudbrick has high thermal mass. It absorbs heat slowly throughout the day and releases it slowly at night, which means interior spaces stay noticeably cooler than the air outside during peak afternoon temperatures. Walls were often built thick, sometimes exceeding a foot in depth, and windows were kept small and placed high, letting hot air rise and escape while limiting direct sunlight from entering the living space. Archaeologist Barry Kemp, whose excavations at the ancient city of Amarna have shaped much of what is known about Egyptian urban planning, has documented how tightly packed Egyptian houses were positioned to shade each other. Narrow streets, buildings close together, shadows falling across walkways for most of the day. It wasn't accidental. It was a form of city-wide climate design, built centuries before anyone had a word for climate design at all. And then there's water, the resource that made all of it possible in the first place. The Nile wasn't just a source of irrigation for crops. It was a cooling system for an entire civilization. Egyptians built their major cities close to its banks, where humidity from the river moderated the harshest extremes of desert dryness. They bathed frequently, sometimes multiple times a day, using both the river and constructed basins. Physiologists who study heat adaptation, including researchers like Yoram Epstein, whose work on human thermoregulation has shaped modern understanding of heat stress, have shown that frequent water contact does more than cool the skin temporarily. It supports the body's overall ability to regulate temperature across an entire day, especially when combined with adequate hydration and rest during peak heat hours. Which brings up something you might not expect. Rest wasn't laziness, it was strategy. Egyptian daily schedules, as reconstructed from tomb records and administrative documents, show clear patterns of intense activity in early morning and late afternoon, with a quieter period built into the middle of the day. Labor slowed. Movement slowed. Even construction of the pyramids, one of the most demanding physical projects in human history, appears to have followed rhythms shaped around the sun rather than fighting against it. This is the part that surprises most people. The pyramids, the temples, the entire monumental architecture that defines ancient Egypt in the modern imagination weren't built despite the heat. They were built around it, timed to it, planned in cooperation with it. That's a strange thing to sit with, isn't it? An entire civilization organizing its most ambitious achievements around something as simple as the angle of the sun. But maybe it shouldn't be strange at all, because you do the same thing, just without noticing. You still avoid the hottest part of the day when you can. You still reach for looser, lighter clothing in summer, without thinking about airflow or evaporation, because your body already knows what works. You still crave water more in heat, still feel your energy drop in the early afternoon sun, still seek shade instinctively, the way your ancestors sought mud-brick walls and narrow streets 4,000 years ago. None of that is coincidence. It's inheritance. The specific tools have changed. You have synthetic fabrics now, air conditioning, refrigerated water at the press of a button. But the underlying biology, the sweat glands, the way your body signals thirst and fatigue, the instinct to seek shelter from direct sun, all of it is the same machinery that let people build one of history's greatest civilizations in one of history's harshest environments. So the next time you step outside on a 100-degree day and instinctively drift toward the shade, understand what's actually happening. You're not just avoiding discomfort. You're running 4,000 years of inherited survival, proven in the desert, still running quietly inside you today.